That's interesting. What did you think about Sarah and Ben? First of all, adorable couple. They looked really good together.
Hmm.
I was thrown when that came out that he only washes his hair once every 2 weeks. I mean, that he had maybe a little bit of a hygiene problem. Did you see that?
Yeah, but I know some people don't wash their hair a lot. They say it's supposed to be good for it. I wash my hair every day, but some people don't. His hair
So do
looked
I.
fine. It didn't look dirty, I guess. So
It didn't look
maybe
dirty either, but then I
maybe it
was
looks
like,
personal.
oh, does he not shower? I don't know. I thought that was weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess to each their own. He looked clean. I couldn't smell him through the screen, but I mean, she's a pretty girl. I imagine she wouldn't be with him if he smelled bad. But yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, were you shocked when she said no there?
Honestly, I wasn't that shocked either. I don't think okay. They presented it's funny. There's always seems to be an angle. They presented it as like the political beliefs were the only thing, but it wasn't like I did not see them as this absolutely perfect couple that had this amazing relationship, but there was this one thing they couldn't get over. It seemed that there was also like some drama with some TikTok stuff on the back end
Right.
that they kind of didn't go into the full story because I feel like that's its own whole thing, but that I'm sure like led to issues. But I don't know. It
Okay,
was
so here's how I felt about that. Did you
yeah,
notice that
tell me.
on this season they talked so much? And by the way, so Dan, my boyfriend will
Uh-huh.
come in and
Yeah.
out and watch this once in a while, and he's from Minnesota, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
He had such a hard time because every time he came in, there was something political or religious or LGBTQ or Black Lives Matter related. And it was kind of like, this is sort of deep for Love is Blind. And it didn't seem, I don't know, I felt uncomfortable watching that a little bit. I thought it didn't make it as fun. Because that conversation is not meant for that show. I mean, those conversations are very serious, and I get you want somebody with your same
Yeah.
beliefs, but they really got into them in a lot of ways. I didn't love that about the couples. It made it a little tense and uncomfortable to watch for me.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, there are so many things like when you're in the pods, you talk about like literally every aspect of life. And
Mm,
politics is one of those things. So I don't fault them for talking about it. But with all of the footage they had for the network to focus on that, I was a little surprised. I agree because there's such touchy subjects that it just doesn't to me when I'm watching a dating reality show. I understand politics being brought up in one sense, but it seemed to be like, I mean, we're talking about like really complicated and like
yeah. And then we had to
I don't
follow
know.
them to church. I thought that was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I agree. I was a little uncomfortable watching that too.
But you brought up something that I forgot about until this moment about that TikTok talk issue. So that bothered me because it was kind of like, all right, so there's a girl that's coming on that we find out later dated him 4 years before, and whether or not he ghosted her or not, she was upset. I mean, unless she was like accusing him of beating her or something and being a terrible guy, I kind of didn't get it. So I was like, that's lame, and maybe she should have reached out to the girl and talked to her. But then to bring it up later in the reunion and say, okay, I see it now. You ghosted me. I mean, not for anything. She left him at the altar. So what, and then she wants him to come down to wherever the hell she was going, Nashville. And after they had talked about being broken up, it was sort of like, well, who are you to think that this guy's going to come there with you? And so he ghosted you. It doesn't mean he's a terrible guy. It means he handles things probably not the best way. But I don't know. I also thought that was very immature.
This is so funny because literally the reunion came out last night and you're the first person I'm talking to about it. So like as I'm listening to you, I'm like thinking about how I'm thinking about the reunion.
Right.
That's really a good point. Here's the thing with the TikTok. I think right, the woman who was on TikTok basically she was just like it sounded like he was like maybe dated her and kind of ghosted her or something. It didn't sound like it was anything awful. What I do think Ben did that when he kept saying like, "Oh, I don't really remember." It's like, dude, you remember.
That was stupid.
It's
Yeah.
like you should just own it. Been like, yeah, I was younger.
I didn't know how to end it.
I
I
didn't
didn't
know how
want
to
to hurt
end
her
it. I ended it.
feelings.
Yeah, I didn't know how
I
to hurt
just
her
stopped talking
feelings.
to her.
Or maybe even if you just said I was younger, I was a bit of an asshole when I was younger. I'm sorry. You
Right.
would have been fine. Like, yeah, I think that I don't remember is actually got him in more trouble than just like doing something when he was
Yeah,
younger.
but then she trying to turn it around on him and be like, now I get it because you ghosted me. And then all the girls
Uh,
start to like jump down his throat. I'm like, Okay, so what? Who hasn't been? I was ghosted. It was terrible, but I wouldn't sit there and cry about it. I mean, it was years ago. And then I'm sure I've ghosted people that I just didn't want to, end things with. I don't know. It's like so immature to talk about that. I don't know.
I really
Um,
get why you're the misunderstood podcast because you really do try and come with an understanding lens, which is very rare.
right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like each person really should have their side. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay, who else did I fall? Okay, I fell in love with Taylor and Daniel. From the beginning in the
Yeah.
pods, I
Right.
was like, these guys are amazing. It bummed me out. And I think I texted you because of that scene where she comes out the next day and she's like, I think that you followed me on Instagram and unfollowed me.
Hmm.
Now, again, I didn't understand this because I loved her. I loved him. I thought that they had such a good connection. And whether or not he had followed her or not doesn't make him a stalker. And that's kind of like what they were trying to get at. And whether or not he had seen her before, yes, I mean, all right, she's saying, I'm so pretty. So he only wants to be with me because I'm so pretty. They had a really good connection in the pod. So there are plenty of people that, I mean, have you been on a dating app?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
only
I'm on
seeing
them.
somebody from the way they look, right? And then you meet them or you hear
Right.
their voice and then you're like, they suck. So, like,
Yeah.
you could be in the pods for 10 days and realize, yeah, she might be the hottest thing, but she's annoying. So, I didn't really get where, even if he had seen her or hadn't seen her, why this was such a crazy scenario that we need to like make him out to be a stalker. What did you think of that?
So, okay. So I've done a lot of thinking about that, and I have a few theories. One is maybe she just saw him on a dating app and got him confused with something else.
Hmm.
Minnesota is so small
Right.
as what it sounds like that I feel like it first of all, it's possible that he did that, like people were talking and he heard someone might also be on. But in my effort to be understanding, I think also, when you're in the pods in that situation, there's so much going on. Like, I don't know, my brain was like fried. Like you're not sleeping a lot because your mind is racing every day. Like I feel like to me it seemed like she was scared, and the moment that it didn't happen, I feel like she was like that he wasn't following her or she couldn't find it. I feel like she almost seemed to really regret doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
she
I
should
think
have.
I think she had like I feel like she had a moment of whatever. I don't want to say weakness, whatever, but yeah, it ultimately, I'm glad that nothing came up because that would have been so sad if, she had seen and ended things.
I was so glad because
Yeah.
it was teased right after that scene happened. So the show ends and then
Right.
the upcoming like Honduras trip is teased and they were not in it. So, and I was watching this with like my daughter. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, Wyatt, they left. Like, I'm so bummed. They were the only people. She's like, Mom, relax. I've watched the next episode. They're in it. They're in it. Because I
You-
really would have been bummed. And he handled it so well. He's so cute. I don't know why he's insecure about his height. He's adorable. And so the thing is, I was bummed that I felt like she didn't show him a lot of affection. She would say, oh, I love you. She would give him a peck. I was looking, she didn't really hold him and touch him and squeeze him. And I got very nervous she was going to say no. And I'm so happy she didn't.
Oh, that's so interesting. God, I remember when she did say yes. It's funny. They cut to Daniel's dad, and he just like has like the biggest grin. Like you can tell because he knows that Daniel's gonna say yes. So
Yeah.
when he said yes, you can tell like he like looks over, is so cute. Also, what I thought was adorable is Taylor lost her voice in the pods in the first couple episodes. Like she was like speaking with a hoarse voice,
Right.
which that happened to me one day when I was in the pods. It wasn't like the same thing that happened to her, but there was one day just from so much talking. I never forget the Wranglers went out and they got me this like Manuka honey that I guess like opportunity. I'm telling you, I don't have a TikTok shop link, but that stuff works. That stuff brought me back to life. But it was such a like it's like a horror. Like think of how lucky you feel to get in the pods and to then all of a sudden to lose your voice. She loses the first couple of days. It's like, oh my God, like am I not gonna have
Right.
this amazing experience? Like, but I love that he was into her so much that even with her raspy voice, which is the only thing you can go off of, he still fell for her. So it
Right.
truly was her personality. It wasn't even like a pretty voice in the beginning.